All right, we're back with another amazing guest on the Scale with Pros podcast, Mr. Jesse Burrell, CEO of Batch Data. And
Yeah.
man, this is gonna be a fun episode. Where Jesse has just recently went through an exit out of one of the businesses he's involved in. So I think it'll be fun to talk about that. But before we get into that, Jesse, man, would love to have you share your story of entrepreneurship. How the heck did you get into the business world, and kind of fast forward to where you're at today, and then I'd love to get into some questions around building up the business to exit, that what that process looked like and all that.
Yeah. Do you want the short or long version of entrepreneurship start?
Yeah, give like the few minute version.
Few minute version. I went to ASU and wanted to be a professional golf instructor and soon learned that it takes a long time to make the money I had ambitions for. To be honest with you. And as I got in those upper level classes, the small business management, some of the entrepreneurial classes started to interest me. And at the time, my friend Danielle Kroll was working with and for this guy that started flipping houses in like the early 2010s in Phoenix. And she kind of just offered me a job there, basically being an acquisition rep for him. And that kind of introduced me to the world of real estate. And my job was basically just to find flips for him and go at that time you could go all market, find short sales, pre-foreclosures, stuff like that. And yeah, they taught me how to underwrite the deals. They taught me rehab costs. I really kind of spent a year kind of mentoring under Danny, and Nick was his name. And then soon after, he thought the market was going to shift in like 2014, which definitely very early in the Phoenix market. But I just went and got my license and then started looking for deals for investors. And then that
Hmm.
led me into probably 6 months later learning about wholesaling and learning that you could go, direct to a homeowner, negotiate a contract, and then sell that to a fix and flipper or buy and hold person. And that's really how my entrepreneurial journey started. And I actually partnered with Danny and Jared at that time to where, she kind of brought me in and showed me how to do it. And we partnered up and then started our first little business together. And
Hmm.
it was pretty fun, to be honest with you. That's how it definitely got started.
Yeah. So starting off, in the real estate space, and then I mean, this is some years later. How did Batch become a company? And giving some context, like however much you want to go into around Batch, like how did that actually get started? Because for everyone listening, software company. We're talking about real estate. How did this segue begin? Because you had got into real estate, started having great success there, and then the segue into the software space.
Yeah, it's that age-old problem that a lot of people talk about. I was just trying to make my real estate investing company better. I was at By that point in 2018, I was flipping, I was wholesaling, I was buying rentals, and I was like, how can I get, more deals in Phoenix? And at that time, I was looking for, better. We're doing cold calling and texting soon arrived to that, and I talked to my now partner Evo, and he's like, "Hey, I found this new place that has really good phone numbers that helps, so on and so forth." And so I started buying phone numbers from him, and he's just a nice guy, and he's giving it to me at cost. And I'm like, "Well, I think I have friends that are kind of having the same problem that I'm having." He's like, "Well, you could have half of whatever profit you sell it for." I was like, "Sounds good." And before we knew it, we had a bunch of people, buying phone numbers from us, sending us lists, buying phone numbers. And before we knew it, we had a business. And the first thing I did was I called Brent Daniels up, and because he was the big cold calling guy back then, I'm like, hey, you want free data? Just try it. And if you like it, promote it to everyone. And it kind of just snowballed from there. And then that became profitable very quickly. And then soon after, we started really actually developing software. So batch leads, batch dialer, batch data that came over time. And we obviously it took a long time, but we built out a whole suite of products and solutions for, real estate investors, agents, even quite a few home service people use this now. And it was really just trying to solve our own problems. And then Batch got really big. Me and you were partners actually in one of the Batch
Yeah.
softwares at one point for a little while there. And Batch driven, I don't even
Yeah.
mention very often, but there was I mean, there were so many. We did a ton of different things. Batch RVM. There's all these different things that we are doing, and we slowly started consolidating it really into batch leads, batch skip tracing, batch dialer, and batch data. And then, as you alluded to, about 2.5 weeks ago, we sold and carved out part of our business. We sold batch leads and batch dialer to PropStream, which is probably the biggest, I would say, uh, outbound lead gen software, in our space. So, really, really exciting stuff, and we'll kind of unpack how that happened a little bit later, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. So super cool. You know, the experience over the years and what you've built, and now on to the next stages of the journey after and after the exit. So I want to ask some of the basic questions, which I'll save for a minute, but I think this it's special because there's also the people that are listening and they're like, man, like, what do you even like do to get the company prepared to exit, and so what would you kind of share? Obviously, no, I know you're not going to share like confidential stuff, but like what are some of the things that you guys just had to do, like whether it's like certain like key man risks or just different things that you had to do to prepare the business to even have that opportunity for business owners that are considering wanting to do that in the future?
Yeah, I think really when you start something, I'd always be intentional of what, your goal is long term. Is it a lifestyle business? Is it a business that you plan on selling? I think regardless of what you want to do, you should build a business to sell it because you never know if you want to. And the more sellable a business is, typically the more buttoned up it is with SOPs and processes and people and org structures and so on and so forth. But be intentional. And if you're actually going and planning and wanting to sell, it probably takes 24 months to truly prepare properly to do that. There's a lot of, depending on the business, but I'll stick to what I know, and that's SaaS,
Yeah.
is it's getting there early, talking to a couple different investment banker groups, finding which one is right for you, but they're going to kind of guide you on some of the key metrics that are going to be important to your specific buyer. There was a lot of things that weren't as important as we thought they were. So it really helps you once you start getting prepared to sell to make sure that you're focusing on the things that are going to be most attractive to the people that are going to be purchasing you. And
Mm-hmm.
I think those are some of the really important things. You can't just be like, hey, I want to sell in 2 months. It doesn't work that way. You have to be prepared, you have to be aligned, and you have to have a whole plan in place. And it takes a lot of time. There's a lot of financial information and documentation that needs to be buttoned up and put together. And if you don't do that, people aren't going to want to buy you because they're going to think that you're actually not put together. And how are you actually able to scale this business, or how are they going to ingest your business um, if you don't have the proper things in place and the proper auditing that they need to do to make sure that they're protected and your business is in a sound place? Because we got an 8-figure plus check for those businesses being sold. Everyone says how they want to sell for all this money, but like, you have to think of it from the other side. Someone's writing you a big check to grow something else, or to believe
Yeah.
that you can continue to grow something. You have to be extremely buttoned up, and it's a colonoscopy, dude. Like, they're every crevice, every hole. They're looking at every little detail and thing. And the investment bankers help you and prepare a lot of that stuff,
Yeah.
but it takes a substantial amount of time and a very competent team
Mm-hmm.
to exit for somewhere in the 8 figures. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Super interesting. Let me ask you this. What was something surprising about the process that you didn't expect when you started going through that?
Like with the investment bankers, or like when you're actually under due diligence with the
Yeah, just
LOI?
like through like that exit process, like whether it's something that surprised you about something that happens working with investment bankers, or certain things that they wanted access to that you're like, wait, what? Or like just anything that kind of came up in that process. I'm just more curious.
Yeah, a couple examples is investment bankers treat as realtors. They're going to tell you the best possible scenario of what your house or business could sell for. Um, I think, obviously, because they want to get the commission and they want to work with you. They also have to believe in you, because if you don't sell, their retainer is so insignificant for the time that they put in. So they are going to vet you too. And there's people that you'll reach out to and they're just like not interested. And it doesn't mean that you can't find the right one, but some people have certain thresholds and there's a whole lot of different stuff. So that whole world was just intriguing to me as a whole. Um, but they really prepare you. But during the, LOI phase and this and that, it's like the weirdest things I never thought would matter. Is like how is deferred revenue treated, and you've collected this money that now they have to service these people. That there's a cost to that. Like you don't even think about something like that, or
Yeah.
all the PTO that's going over. Who's paying for that? Is that an expense that we have? Is it expense they're going to absorb? Like everything is a negotiation. It's stuff you would never even like cross your mind. To be completely honest with you, and those are just like two small examples of everything in between. But I always relate it to a real estate transaction because that's what I've done hundreds of,
Yeah.
and it's like 100x, dude. Like it was the most insane thing I've ever been a part of. It was fun. I got to learn a lot. It was also stressful, and there's also like not great moments of that experience. But what I learned, not a lot of people get to go through, and that's something that is very valuable to a lot of people that now I could share with them through equity of a company, through consulting, or just through helping some friends that are preparing for something and giving them advice in the future.
Yeah. So I know we've talked a little bit about this offline, but online, what's the next thing for you? Like what's the focus now going into the next couple of years after an 8+ figure exit, now what becomes more of the focus in life?
Yeah, and since me and you talked, what, a week ago, week and a half
Yeah.
ago,
Yeah.
maybe, it's changed. So the the goal, I'm really excited about batch data, like very excited. I'm excited about the team we have in place. The focus is to grow that and do it bigger and better than we did on the first bite. And I think I was talking to you about some other things that I was thinking about doing or other ways to monetize. And I
Yeah.
talked with my partners, and I think this is where we want our focus to be. We're going to be more intentional with not working as much in the business, but working on and maybe having a little bit more time with family and hobbies. But our intention and my focus is going to stay on growing batch data because ultimately thinking of the other things I could do, or if we wanted to go sell that soon, which we could, um, ultimately we kind of landed on let's go do it again. And I don't know if I'm crazy or if I'm not, but I feel like we're positioned right. We have the right team. It's exciting for me. It's fun to work with PropStream on the other side right now for the next year and help them grow
Hmm.
that to where this is just kind of what I want to do. And until I don't want to do it, I'm gonna push forward. And we just learned so much, Cody. Like so much over this last year. I know what to do, what not to do, how to structure comp plans better, how to structure PTO better. Like all these different, all these little things that we didn't know would matter now, and we could prepare in an even better way than we did in the past. And it's just the high I got was so awesome to accomplish something like that. It just makes me want to go do it again.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So super cool. And seeing, I mean, it's just like if you're excited about something and passionate about it, it's like why not continue on the journey? And it's like you already have a great team in place to have another super successful exit in the future there. So I want to take it back for a second. So the the person listening that they're trying to get to, let's talk about two stages. It's nice, someone that's grown to the stage that you're at, because we could talk about these two stages. So let's talk about, what do you think the success factors are going from 6 figures a year to 7 figures a year in the business, and then we'll talk about the next stage from there. But what do you think that those success factors that cause people to go from a 6 figure a year business to the first milestone, I think really is like past 1 million a year in revenue?
Um, I think, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this too, just from doing it with quite a few businesses now. I think at the beginning, people get caught up in trying to hire um, too many like higher titles before they need to. I think it's really, if you're the business owner, make sure you have the right product market fit. Like you need to have a really good product. and then just have really good marketing. Like marketing and sales should really be that focus. Like fulfillment will break, customer support will break. As long as it's not broken, it's fine. Like have a good product that people could use. Have a good marketing's even more important than the sales. And if you have a good product, it's going to sell itself, to be completely honest with you. Um, and then I think once you get to a million plus, that's when you need the right, strategic marketing partners and sales leaders and stuff like that. But going from six figures to low sevens, um, it's really, product adoption and stuff like that. Because like wholesale, it's very marketing and sales driven. And I think even SaaS, it's, people talking about it and organically growing. If you're having to dump a bunch of money into marketing to convince people to sign up for your product, you know, it's typically not the greatest product.
Yeah. No, it makes sense. Yeah. So I'm on the same page with that as far as like 6 to 7 figures. I feel like it really is just marketing and sales. Like as long as it's a good product or service that's being sold,
Yeah,
getting enough qualified leads coming in the door, converting enough of those and focusing on those is like the main things. I always
that's it.
joke with our team, it's like from like operationally, it's like I want the train has to run, but it should be running so quickly that it's like it's almost falling off the tracks, but it's
Exactly.
not quite falling off the tracks. Like we're keeping it on the tracks. And so, that's kind of I really agree on the marketing and sales piece being, really the most critical part at
Yeah,
that
it's
stage.
spread your team thin early and pay them, handsomely as you're getting started. But like as you grow your organization, there's more people problems, there's more process problems. Like keep it simple and just grow the sales and marketing, have the right KPIs, as you said, in place, and just keep fueling those. And as you said, you don't quite want to break it, but extend it to its limits and then start hiring the next person. Once you get in that, I'd say above $1 million range or into the multi-millions, that's when you start needing to go from 7 to 8 figures. That's when you
Yep.
need really strategic VPs that have done, like, let's say, this is your first business. You haven't done that. Go hire people that have the experience and that could, obviously you're still that leader, but your ego should be small enough to where you should, if you're really great, you're going to hire better people than you in specific areas of your business. And then your job as the CEO or the founder is to make sure that they're following the vision, direction, and passionate like you are about it. It's truly not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think that part. So this is something that I see, and I'm sure you've seen this too, where I feel like the 1 to 3 million a year range is tough for a lot of people because it's like you just started making money and like, depending on the margins, like you're making maybe some decent money, but you also, it's like you're getting compressed on the amount of time that you have to spend doing everything, and now you need to upgrade the talent that you need from the business. And so there's a lot of times that I see people, they hired people when they were doing 6 figures, they gave them, to your point, those titles of this is my CFO or my CMO. And it's like my CFO in the book, in like their CFO is literally just someone that learned QuickBooks on
It's a
YouTube. And
bookkeeper.
yeah, so they like over titled these roles. They get into this 1 to 3 million range, and then they're kind of hitting this ceiling. And now they're having hard decisions to make of like, hey, I need to go tell Susie she's our bookkeeper, not our CFO, and actually go hire, probably you don't need a CFO at that point, but a controller,
Yep.
or something that can
VP,
actually,
director of finance or VP of finance or
yeah,
something like that. Yep.
yeah. So it's like having that role that can actually do that, do the job at a high level. But then, as the founder, then you're starting to take home less money because you're having to invest to get to that next level. And I see that gap in like that 1 to 10 is you have to make some hard decisions in that like 1 to 3, and then
Yep.
on beyond there, it's the talent that you acquire to help you. Because like past that, it's like you need those strong leaders, the director or VP levels to
Mhm.
drive those major functions, and it really just becomes a lot more about the leadership. I feel like if processes get pretty dialed in along the way, then it's all the leadership game, on and
Agreed. And
beyond there.
we have some to unpack there because I agree with so much. And the thing I've always had an issue with and learned very early on is titles. You know, some of these people are great and they're going to get you to where you need to go, but not get you to where you need to go next. And if you inflate their titles, you're going to have to demote people, and that's going to hurt their ego, and they may still be great inside your company, which sucks. And we lost some of those people because of doing that. So I'm
Yep.
saying you don't need a director unless you have multiple managers. You don't need a VP unless you have multiple directors. And giving these inflated titles constantly, unless they're going to grow into that role, and you know they're going to grow in that role. But
Yeah.
because now I have a small organization of not small, but 30 people or 35 people again, when we were at, 130, let's
Hmm.
call it 2.5 weeks ago, is, these people are like, well, I want this new title. I'm like, who are you managing? Or like, what managers are you managing? Why do you need a director title? Well, I deserve it. I'm like, you do, but we need to grow the organization again before you
Yeah.
get that title. Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's just, people want their business to seem more important. Oh, I have a CFO. I remember, I love you, Carlos, but like she was a bookkeeper. It's not a CFO. I did not even have a CFO, and we were doing multiple eight figures between all of our products together on a
Hmm.
yearly basis. We had a VP of finance. Like she wasn't a CFO.
Yeah.
We didn't even need a true CFO at that point. Like a CFO is when you're doing crazy amounts of money, and a CFO is strategic, and they're going to have equity in your company, and they're helping guide you as founders of saying here are ways, like they're almost helping grow revenue to some degree
Yeah.
in that factor, to where they're kind of a little bit marketing, a little bit sales, like they're having strategic conversations with you on looking at metrics and numbers and KPIs to grow. Like it's almost like they're kind of going hand in hand with like a chief revenue officer or something like that.
Hmm.
So it's just it's really unfortunate if you do that early, because like I learned hard from that mistake. Like I had to go demote my sister,
Same.
as we grew,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Those
she's like,
conversations are terrible. The
dude, they're
worst.
not fun.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just you don't need that. Like when you're less than 10 people, you shouldn't have more than a manager. To be completely honest with you,
Yeah.
and like VPs and directors have different salary bands, and then they'll go look up online,
Yes.
the salary band, and be
Oh
like, why am
yeah.
I not being paid that? Well, they're not actually a director. Like that's the tough part,
Yeah.
so I couldn't agree with you more. And I think there was another point, and I got long-winded there. What was the other thing you were talking about?
The leader, I think it's a lot just on like the leadership side there. And
Oh,
like that becomes the thing that I think really holds, I think that's really the key at that after like 3 million working the way up to 10 million plus is the leaders of the departments.
right. No, the other part I was going to say is, when you get to that $1 to $3 million range, we experienced this on like three different levels when we had to scale, like we were growing so fast revenue wise. We had to hire a bunch of new people. We'd see our bottom line dip for like 3 months, a quarter, and then we'd
Right.
see it jump back up as it grew. And that's just something you have to be okay with, is you have to keep reinvesting to take a little bit less money short term. And at the
Hmm.
end of the day, once you're making good money, like you should be completely fine with that. And me, Andy, and Evo learned kind of the hard way of just always drawing a bunch of money out, is just take a fixed salary and then don't worry about it. And if you get a ton of money after a quarter, draw some out if you have more than you need for payroll and kind of like the reserves that you have set aside. But like
Yeah.
don't worry as much about like that net profit or the cash coming in every month. It doesn't matter at that point. And to be honest with you, you should enjoy some of the fruits, but delayed gratification and growing your wealth, you're going to grow it the most through your business, both in income and in enterprise value. And it's tough to get there early, especially when you haven't made anything and you start making really good money. You want to buy the Lamborghinis, which both of us have done. Uh, but we did it at the appropriate times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Long after we could have. Yeah. The interesting thing, this is a super fun conversation on this because, the experiences that we've had, but the, when it comes to like taking out profits or not taking out profits or, having, allowing that, I would also caution the listener of don't say that you're just reinvesting all of the profits without understanding what you're actually doing, because I think that's also an excuse some business owners will make is like, oh, I'm not making money from the business because I'm reinvesting all of it. Like I want to know, then it's like, okay, well, if you weren't reinvesting all of it, what would your actual net profit be able to be for the business? I want to know that they're actually making smart decisions, not just like I'm just buying more stuff or hiring more people and saying it's just because I'm reinvesting into the business. It's like, what's the strategy behind that? Because the other thing that can happen is people are dumping everything back in and they're not actually building a profitable model. Like their model actually isn't, at a profitable state because they don't have the margins right on it. I've also seen that too.
Well, I did that. As we were scaling like crazy, we were like, oh, more people in all these different departments means more revenue. No, it meant slower initiatives getting done, slowing down timelines. It actually put a chokehold on the organization to where our net profits went down, our margins weren't where we wanted it to be, and it slowed down all of our roadmaps, all of our initiatives. I could tell you I did that firsthand. So like I'm trying to,
I've done
you
it
know, the
too. That's why I'm sharing it because I'm like, that was a mistake that we made of just thinking that throwing more at it is like, and it's like it's like the badge of honor of I'm reinvesting into the business,
yeah, and we just, we done no wrong for 3, 4 years, and we're just like, all right, more people means more money, which no, um, we got caught, and it was a great lesson learned to where I'll never do it again. But it's finding the balance of like, how do you grow lean? You know what I mean? And then, as I
Yeah.
said, even as you get bigger, and even when you're in 8 figures, like you want to get it to the point of breaking until you bring that next person on, because that's another person to manage. It's another person on payroll. It's another person that I have to give benefits to. It's another person that needs to be in more conversations. Like that's the stuff that I learned that I didn't realize the strain it puts on the organization when you get too big too fast. Now, if you're publicly traded or you've raised $100 million, you could have
Yeah.
those growing pains. But if you're
Different.
bootstrapped, it's different. And listen to me and Cody, because we're telling you about mistakes we've made that we don't want you to make.
Yeah, absolutely. So that made that same mistake. The title thing made that same mistake. I am so protective over titles that I'm like, I get like triggered whenever team members or like managers are like, oh, like I'm gonna, like we should promote them. Like, no, no, no. It's like operationally, it's just like, if someone's going to go from an operations coordinator to a manager, then a manager to, director, then a director, it's just like, there has to be like a specific ascension and like what must be true for that ascension to happen. Like to your point, there are certain amount of, team members that are reporting to the manager, then, for the manager, a certain amount of managers to actually report to that director. And, it's that having that, and the pain and suffering of having to demote. I've only had it a few times work out. I've probably had to do that maybe half a dozen times demoting the title. And I think I've like maybe 2 out of 6 people ended up staying because they couldn't adjust. And it wasn't even always because they left immediately. It was, we moved them into another role and they couldn't stop meddling with the other stuff they used to be involved in.
Yeah,
And
I've had that happen.
yeah. And so we're just like, man, like, I know you used to be over this, but like you're not over it anymore. Like, we just try to bring them back. And so I think that's a big mistake. And I think sometimes people, they give those big titles out because they don't have actual money to give them. So it makes them feel good from the title because they
Yeah.
can't pay them the money. But for all of those reasons, if you're listening, please, for the love of God, don't over title people. And, you do not need any directors or above when you're a couple $1 million a year. Like you just don't.
Yeah, and you're gonna, if they have that title and go interview somewhere else and get hired, they're gonna get fired quickly because like it wasn't a
Yeah.
title that they're ever supposed to have. So
Yes.
I mean, one advice for that, because let's go back to SaaS. So like account executive is something that we have as salesperson. Have a senior account executive path, have an executive senior account management path, and then maybe they get to manager. Like creating layers inside of a position is
Mm-hmm.
always good, especially when you're early on to where they have worked hard and they have generated revenue or done something to impact revenue. You want to show that to them, but you
Yeah.
don't need to show it from, sales rep to manager to director to VP. Like
Yeah.
have these layers in between there, senior director, or senior manager, you know what I mean? And give them maybe a little salary increase, but like
Yeah.
don't put them into new titles that unless they're managing managers, most directors shouldn't be. Directors can make sense if they're kind of overseeing like a department, but you don't need a VP or something like that, to where it's a smaller team, and they've had director roles in the past. I've had to hire people that are managing smaller teams on us, and now with moving over to us, it's like I'm obviously not going to demote your title. It's like you have more of a manager role, but you're a director level. Like we'll keep that and then build the team underneath you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's fine. Or even that's where you could go to like a senior director or something along those lines. And like with us, those positions matter and those titles matter for us at Batch Data because you have different vesting bands depending on those titles, and that's what
Mm-hmm.
we're building out right now. So like now I just can't just be like, well, this person should be this, but that. It's like, no, we got to wait till they have to earn it, and that also keeps retention there longer and keeps them pushing and striving as well. It's like, hey, we're not there yet. We'll get you to there as we grow the company, but you're not getting this title because your vesting's going to change, and we're just not ready to do that yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if they leave, then their vesting goes away. So it's like they're going to think hard about wanting to leave now, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Yeah. No, makes a lot of sense. So obviously those are some pitfalls to avoid for the listeners on this journey to grow. And as like scaling through past 10 million a year, what else had to change from like a leadership standpoint? Like what are some of the things, like not like organizationally, like with like, yeah, we had to have this new title, but what are maybe some leadership lessons or things that you or the other, partners, Annie, Evo, at Batch had to change in the style of leadership? Like any other things kind of come to mind that, were pivotal to continuing to grow from, the overall company leadership level?
Yeah, you alluded to this is, when you hire these brilliant people, really letting them run their departments and being a support system to them, helping with the strategy, making sure they're aligned with the strategy that we put in place, and really letting them go do their things and not micromanaging. And that could be tough when you wear a lot of hats early, giving up that control. But if you have the right reporting in place, you could. And also something we didn't do when we should have done more of is, spot checking. They're gonna always make themselves look in the best light possible. You still have to understand what they're doing, what they're trying to accomplish, and spot check and dig into the data yourself, not just take what they're presenting to you at surface value, because inherently people are trying there's politics and everything. They're trying to make
Yeah.
themselves in the best light as possible. And it could be intentional or unintentional, but you need to be able to go in and spot check and then also do step downs because they're like, oh, the team's so happy, they're great. No, like as a leader, let's say you're VP of marketing, you need to go step down and do some one-on-ones with you know, all the way down to the IC level to see like how the organization is actually functioning. When you're up top and you're assuming things and everything's good, that's when problems typically happen, and that's when because you're a little bit more removed
You're
from
in your
the day to
ivory
day.
tower of like all of your yes man and women's around
Yep,
you telling you all the good that
yep.
everything's fine.
Having those step down meetings are really important and something I try and do like twice a year, to be honest with you, is something you don't need to do too often. Luckily, we're much smaller again to where I have a pretty good pulse on what's going on with everybody. But we've gotten smaller. We're trying to sell our building now. We're going to be more remote. So that's something that I'll probably check into a little bit more often in the future if we decide not to rent some type of space a couple days a week or something along those lines. But, you know, just and it's not that you don't trust them, but you have to verify and check.
Yeah.
And there's always things to improve upon. And people, if they trust you and trust that you're not going to, rat them out to their boss or their boss's
Yeah.
boss, like, hey, man, this is anonymous. Like, you have to trust me. I'm not going to make you look bad. I'm just trying to find ways to improve because there's always way to improve. What are you liking? What are you not liking? And I'd have my assistant in there with me, and she's documenting everything for me
Yeah.
when I would do that. And it just helps us give us insight of there's always improvements to be made in the organization if it's culturally, if it's um, wanting a better path for professional growth, if it's a management style which they do or don't like. It's just being able to help at the end of the day.
Yeah. It's like inspecting what you expect and, getting
Exactly.
getting more data. So the I don't know if you guys ever would do these because I know a lot of companies they'll do them with like customers, but like net promoter score.
We would do yearly surveys, not surveys, but I think we didn't do it this last year, but like the 3 prior years, we got best places to work through a couple different organizations. So
Hmm.
we would always do that to get a pulse of how people felt about the company and the culture and stuff. And we did a really, really good job with that. I mean, you were in the building with us a lot and you got to see how fun it was,
Yeah.
back in the early days. I would say it got away from that a little bit as everything shifted and everything got tougher.
More professionalized and like just, you know, different.
And I think we got too far away to being a little bit more corporate than bootstrapped. And I think you should be able to have corporate procedures with bootstrap mentality and fun in the environment. And that's
Hmm.
definitely what we're going to get back to, moving forward is like, I didn't even enjoy it as much. I'm like, I can't even be me as much as I wanted to be because I was scared to say anything.
That's
Um,
the worst.
it wasn't fun for sure.
Yeah.
But we've learned and we've grown and we've evolved and that's the best part about being a business owner is you continue to learn from mistakes and adapt and change and the further along you get in your career, the better you learn how to build businesses and cultures and inspiring people and to me it's just a journey to continue to get better and that's why you see these people that have been in business for a long time why if they lose everything it's so easy for them to go rebuild it it's because they know how to and they may have just taken a risk or it could have been sometimes it's just bad environment and you could get unlucky with regulations or changes or technology just completely shifts to something new and you're just like all right shit what's next.
Yeah. Yeah. The on the topic of the the surveys for the team. So we started doing this is probably not last year, but the year before last. We started doing twice a year, like outside of like, we do like our, twice a year reviews with the team members. But we started sending out like an employee net promoter score. And it's just like on a scale of 1 to 10, how likely would you, refer someone to work here? And, and then there was like what are the recommendations? Like we had a few different questions that we'd ask on it. And that was something that's been super helpful of just like getting the feedback. And we do it anonymously too. Just like that would go out and everyone fills it out anonymously. And like with the cleaning company that I bought into last summer, there was so much, they were having a ton of culture issues. And the funny thing is, when I was talking with the partners there, they were like, oh, I think people just want to make more money. Like they're just wanting to make more money. And the thing in the survey that came up time and time again was we just want to feel recognized. We want to feel acknowledged for the input that we're putting into our job day to day and be rewarded. And like just a few little things of just like we created like a leaderboard system of like the cleaners that get the most reviews, the least reservices, these little things, and there's like spiffs on every week and little gift cards and this and swag and like
Yep.
just doing a few of those little things like within 6 months the scores for culture were significantly up. And it was like no one was, yeah, there's a couple people on there that were like, yeah, I'd like to make more money, but it was really not about the money that people were wanting just to have be improved.
I mean, that's part of it. Like people all inherently are going to want to do better and get paid more and
Yeah,
continue their life. And that's going to matter at every job.
absolutely.
But to keep people to stay and to keep people happy and dude, at the beginning, dude, we're given each quarter there's new swag coming out. And as I said, that's stuff that we need to get back to. And I think those as revenue dipped in, 23 and 24 for us, we got so far away from some and then we do, weekly lunches every week. I remember you come to those occasionally
Yeah,
and we kind of cut all like everything instead
all
of like
fun.
all yes like and it wasn't like the culture was toxic and it was a bad environment but like all the little thank yous that you would say without saying thank you went away and I think that hurt and it's something that we started to get back to and are going to continue to get back to with the new team but like we sold July 1 and I'm doing a complete revamp, like the mission, the vision, the core values, the new vesting, what we plan to do, how we plan to sell, when we plan. Like I'm literally putting it all out there in the open and saying, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. This is how we want to do it with you. And like be a part of it or don't. Like, like if this just isn't for you or hits your financial goals. Like we're resetting all salaries and doing everything. And like, don't talk to us for 2 years or the next year and a half. Like this is set in place. This is how, if you want more money, help us get this to a place to sell and we'll help you get there. And that's where your big bonus will come in. And if you just want a bunch of salary increases over the next 2 years, we're probably not the company for you to work for.
Yeah. No, I love the transparency in it too of just like sharing it. So, I told you, I've been getting coached from Adam Coffey, and
Hmm.
for a while now, and one of the things that he said that was really amazing for when he was helping, sell out of the different companies that he grew was he communicated when he came into these companies, like to the entire company, it's like, we will be selling this company within, X amount of years. And this is what it means for you. This is what it looks like. And so he's like, I would 100% transparently share exactly what the plan was. And, they put in place like the L tips, like the long-term incentive plans to
Yep.
show how like, the senior leadership all the way down to whether individual contributors were involved in it in certain companies and some there weren't, like what that meant for them. And he said the difference that it made being able to, instead of going to sell, which some companies have to do this, he's like, some companies they have to just meet in a conference room with like the buyers and like, shh, like don't let any of the team members know, like we don't want anyone to know about this
No,
happening until
we
like
had to
after.
do that this time because we had different vesting contracts and like we didn't like I don't want to do that when we're going up for sale. I want people to know.
Yeah.
Um, Maybe not to the degree, but you don't have to be super secretive about it. Be like, hey, we're planning on, selling soon. That's about as far as you need to go. But like you don't need to hide, oh, we're talking to some people. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And
Um,
so the thing that Adam did though is he's like, I would have buyers come to our office and like they would come into the office and like people were like shaking their hand and like excited to see them because they knew what it meant for them. So he was like, it was a special thing where it wasn't hidden from the team, and that was like a counterintuitive thing where I was like, man, like I never thought of that, that would even be like a thing you'd want to do. And he's like, dude, he's like, you think about how much more confident the buyers felt coming in, and they got to like, they didn't have sit down conversations with all of them, but they walked in, they got to like feel the greeting of the culture and the environments of these people that were in the office. And I was like, man, like, I don't know, like I just never thought of ever doing that, but I just thought it was so interesting that that was something that he intentionally did.
yeah, and I think, you telling me that gives me more conviction in what I'm trying to do. And then, knowing when that does happen is like people aren't scared or caught by surprise. Like, oh,
Yeah, the
this means that
fear. Yeah.
I get something out of it, because like we let 100 people that didn't know they're going to go work for PropStream know in one single day. And the next 2 weeks was a lot of reassuring, a lot of phone calls, a lot of explaining, why this is great for them. And you don't have to do that if you do it the way that, Adam's talking about, and the way that I'm kind of positioning it in the future.
Yeah. And the way like, and it sounds like you're already doing like the incentive plans and all of that with like the plan now, but he said that was like the key thing was showing how it was going to be good for them, and why it's going to be exciting, and then like sharing the progress along the way of like what that's going to mean for them, and so it didn't make it this like fearful event.
Like each year, I want to kind of have an audit of, what an investment banker ballpark figure. So it's like the evaluation goes up. That means that they're making more money. Like me and Evo and Annie are like, okay, we learned, like, but not everyone is going to participate. And like, if you don't, you have to be okay with that. Like, it's not something that we want to do with every single person. It's more of the key people and the people that aren't participating. Like, how are we setting them up to where we're very competitive with salaries for the job type of position that they have and the bonuses that they could get? Like, that's totally fine too.
Hmm.
Because if you have the right people put in place and the right processes, let's call it a sales rep, you could find another sales rep. Now, if you have a special sales rep, they may have to get into one of those incentive plans to keep around, but those are far and few between exceptions. You know what I mean? To where we have something set aside for ICs, but it's not guaranteed for ICs, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So how do you guys think about that as far as like in like incentive structures within the team? Like obviously it's like you have base, you have benefits, PTO, like all of that stuff, but then it's like, okay, well, what do you think when it comes to like bonus and or profit share and or this, this vesting schedule? Like, how do you decide who gets that? Is it just based on titles that those certain titles get certain benefits, or how do you do that?
Yeah, that's something we're working through all of that right now because we used to just give bonuses off top line and like so for our CRO and some of our chiefs of they need to care about profit and bottom line.
Hmm.
That's where their bonuses will come from moving forward in the future. Sales reps pretty easy. It's just bonus
Yeah.
incentives.
Yep.
And then I would say, the revenue operations, some of the marketing people, that's where um, bonuses on those sides are way more difficult to achieve and they're kind of arbitrary to where I think that's where like the vesting plans come into place and that's where um, annual reviews and salary increases for someone like that
Yeah.
make more sense. So it's really each department should be compensated and rewarded differently, in my opinion. And I think we didn't do the greatest job in the past because it all starts with the leaders of each department. And if they are incentivized by profits or profit sharing, they think twice about who and how many people they hire. And when their teams come to them, they shut it down before it gets to us at the founder level because they're like, nah, dude, that's going to affect my dollar. And do we really need that? Or can we get by with more? Or is there a creative way to put some more on someone's plate and get more out of them by incentivizing them properly. And it's something that we're going to move towards because I think, I think they care to some degree, but until it affects what they take home, it's just going to land differently and they're going to own it very differently as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that with certain departments it I found to be easier than other departments. And the other part too is like I s- I built this document now that's like each company we use. It's like employee compensation guidance, and it's like managers and above get access to this doc, and it's just like what is our strategy of how we do comp here, and like what is our eligibility cycle for salary, and like our thoughts around comp increases. And one of the things that we have in there of like guiding principles is like this like financial wisdom piece where it's like, hey, if the company is losing money, we don't do raises at that time, and like those get extended out, and like that's I and that's something that I've heard conflicting beliefs of like where some people are like, yeah, well, if like the company is like struggling at a certain point, that's when you need to incentivize certain talent to stick around versus like extending it out. And what's kind of your belief on that? Because I'm like, I don't know if it's like I'm just so very data in that of like it is, if you cannot pay the current bill, we do not increase the current bills.
No, we did do that because we went texting regulations changed and
Yeah.
we overhired and then soon after interest rates went on a historic hike. So we
Yeah.
had a bunch of employees with revenue going down and profits just like leaking out the door month over month. And yeah, we said there's no salary increase freeze, this and that. But what we did right was the core leaders in place had their incentive investing plans. So where as long as they're there they could go hire new people. They know how to hire the right people. And a lot of the people that we had on salary were paid at peak time. So as we lost people, we actually got just as good or better talent for cheaper because we hired a lot of these people in
Yeah.
21, 22.
When it
So
was
I
like
was just
everyone
like,
was switching jobs and everything, salaries were all inflating across the board.
yep. So we were completely fine with that. And um, we that's when those leaders of those departments being incentivized and really being there through thick and thin with you. Not just incentivized properly, but dude, they're bought in and they believe in the mission and they are actually part owners of the company. They have vesting in the company and they have long-term incentive to stay and it's not always going to be rainbows and butterflies and
Yeah.
we're very fortunate to have fantastic leaders beside us to where if something did happen, we knew that we could go fill positions quickly, get people trained up quickly, and continue to run the ship. Because I remember early on, and I'm sure you can remember this, especially let's talk to like the new founders or people
Yeah.
100,000 to $1 million
Yeah.
is like just because someone's great and you lose them, it's the ship will continue. It will move on, and there's a reason why you've already got this business to the success it has got to is you will go find someone else good, and you will figure it out. Like it's overreacting to someone, something that you can't control. It's not going to do you any good. Don't stress out about it. Go find the solution. And if you did fuck up or you did something wrong or they left, because of you didn't learn from your lesson and make sure the next great person you have, you just don't do it with again.
Yeah. Oh man. So many good lessons. And it's like it's some of these things it's people can hear, but it's like, you know, some of it has to be experienced and to actually feel the feeling of it. I know one of the things that, and this is just like transparent, like one of the things that I struggled with is like if we had like certain company like goes into the red, I always felt like I waited too long to let go of people when I know I should have let go of them sooner because I just like cared so much. I'm like, I don't know if that, I don't know. I feel like that's something that I've struggled with where I just let it bleed a little bit longer than it probably should have been bleeding because I just don't want to lose the person and let it eat up a little bit more reserves than it should have. Um, but I don't know if that just
Cody.
comes. Oh, what?
Oh, doggies. No, I was going to say, I think it's something that we did. I think that's what makes us who we are, because we care and it creates the culture we create. I don't, dude, we both have a lot of money. It's not going to kill us to try and turn the ship around quicker so we can keep them. Talk to a VC, they're going to say differently, or a PE company,
Yeah, they're gonna
but
be like, look at it this month. Who are we cutting off of these seven names on the spreadsheet?
right. And I think that's what makes us great, and that's why people stick around because the people that stay when we do have to let someone like that go know we did everything we could to not let them go, and that shows the type of people we are and the type of leaders we are and the type of sacrificing that we're willing to make, you know, um, because we do care about the people on our team. And I don't like to ever call a team family because you can't choose your family. You do choose your team. You do choose the people that you do business with, but you develop, very strong bonds with some of these people, and you're willing to dig a little bit deeper, to try and dig yourself out of the hole before you have to do something that you may have to do. And you know, uh, you know, another couple months of salary to try and accomplish something that you want to do to keep someone around. I think don't ever look at that as, a bad thing. And if you partner with someone that does, they're probably not the right partner for you.
Yeah, yeah, that's the part of that I think. But yeah, so that's that's the that's good hearing that from you because sometimes I would just think I'm like, man, like am I just being dumb by not doing this because I just like want to make it work in this certain area, or it's like newer product lines or service lines that are like taking longer to get off. It's like cutting when you should cut. It's like some of the stuff with like batch driven years ago when we were working on that. Just like you keep pushing something for so long and knowing when to cut something and just move to something else. And there's that stubbornness that as entrepreneurs I think we have to just be successful. But then there's like a okay, when do you cut and just keep moving forward with other things in the business.
Yeah, and to your point, as long as it's not going to affect cutting someone or having to let someone go, as long as it's not jeopardizing like the greater whole of the business, I would say it's okay. But if it's like if you need to do it, you have to pull the trigger. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like if this one job is gonna has a downstream effect that affect 5, 10, 15, or like the organization as a whole, like you have to do what you have to do. But if it's just affecting you and your finances, like that's when it's like, all
Yeah.
right, I could sacrifice this.
Yeah, no, I love that, and I know we're coming up at the top of the hour here soon. So, what what are just some of the things if you go back that you would want to tell yourself to get to whether it's the exit or just growing a business to 8 figures, like what would you go back and tell yourself to have done it faster?
We dream pretty big, but I would say dream even bigger. to be honest with you. And just go faster would be like what I tell myself is actually less people, more money in marketing is the lesson that I learned is like marketing. Like if the product's good, like more marketing, less people resources is I think that would have scaled the business faster, blitz the market more, and even more brand awareness and even more of a chokehold um,
Mm.
against the competitors that are beneath you. And I think PropStream did and is doing a phenomenal job at that. And like after learning kind of some of their stuff that I can't talk about,
Yeah.
um, is marketing, marketing, marketing.
Yeah. So you guys heard it here. Marketing, 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 reinvesting into that more than, over bloating your back office with just more bodies. You got to have people to help you do stuff, but, it's like making sure that that return on investment is there. So, Jesse, where can people come find you? Do you want them to come check you out on social media, or where can they go? And we'll make sure to drop it in the show notes.
Yeah, my first and last name on Instagram, TikTok, I'm on pretty regularly, and I'm also just started a podcast that I'm gonna have you on soon on my YouTube channel that I just started up.
And
Just
what's the
type in my
podcast
first
name for those to check it out?
The Real SaaS podcast, and then I also put that on my YouTube channel. You just have to type my name into YouTube and slowly getting followers, but it takes time. But I promise you, the content is there.
Absolutely. I mean, I feel like that's you know, with the experience that you have, it's there's too many people out there that get tons of views that have no idea what the hell they're talking about. So
It's
it's
true.
it's a sad world in that way. But we'll make sure to drop that in the show notes, and appreciate you being on, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate catching up.
All right, and for everyone listening, we'll see you in the next episode.